Okay, it looks like it's working, but I am going to go check on my husband's computer just to be absolutely certain. We had a few issues last.
How you doing, Scott?
Doing fine, Your Honor. How are you?
I'm good.
I just checked. It is working, just in case there's any problems on her end.
Okay, according to my husband's computer, we are live. People just have to click on it. Okay, here's Emilio. Hello.
Hello,
How do you pronounce your last name?
Emilio Benitez.
Benitez. Okay. And if you just say a few more words to make sure your sound is okay.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation. It's an honor to be here.
It's okay. So voice and video is good. So we will put you into the waiting room until it's time for your group.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Monica, please give me a minute. Let me just turn off my other cell phone because I just heard it going off. Just give me a second. Whenever you're ready, Monica.
Okay. I need to, well, we won't start until 6:30. But I have texted WLRN so they know we are live streaming. So we're really just missing one person at this time. Okay. And I do have my cell phone in front of me if you need to text me or something. And then I'm sure our league members will let us know if there's a problem. They were very good last night.
Does anyone have anything fun planned for the 4th of July? This is not one of the questions. It's gonna be asked.
I'm going to be in the Plantation Day Parade.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Yeah.
Nothing for me.
Mhm. Yeah, I may be going to Atlanta, spend time with family there.
It'll be a hot summer up there, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah, they say it's hot here, but there's no breeze there. It's just, yeah,
Yeah, you're kind of landlocked in the middle
right.
of the state.
Yeah,
Don't they call it Hot Atlanta?
yeah, they do. They do. I know. I don't know. You know, my mother and my sister, they complain about how hot it is here, but I'm like, whenever I go there in the summer, I want to come back. I don't know.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, I tried to text Mr. Ariaza, but it didn't go through.
Hmm.
So well, we'll just play it by ear. But we do have two
Yeah,
candidates, so we can go forward
okay.
with that one.
Did everyone confirm receipt of your email, Monica? Is that how it works? And then,
Yes. Actually, he confirmed by phone, but yeah, he confirmed by phone, and then I know the messages were received. Well, would it be horrible if we started 5 minutes early?
I think it's great. Let's do it.
Okay. Okay, so I will start the recording and then we'll get started then. Oh, hold it. I think maybe he just entered. Yes. Oh, he. Alex, if you would say a few words and we'll make sure everything is okay.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, your voice sounds very good.
All right.
And
Sorry.
your picture is good. So I will put you into the waiting room until we are ready for your group, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so everybody is truly here now. So I'm going to go ahead and start the recording. Welcome, and thank you for joining the County Court Judicial Candidate Forum for Broward County. This event is hosted by the League of Women Voters of Broward County. My name is Monica Elliott, and I am Voter Services Chair of our local league. I will be the timekeeper and the controller of the mute button. The moderator for this evening is Suzette Hyde, who is a league member and chair of our Young Adult Engagement Committee. The League of Women Voters was formed 104 years ago, just before women obtained the right to vote in August 1920. We are a nonpartisan political organization with the mission of making democracy work. We have never endorsed a party or a candidate in our 104-year history. However, we do advocate on issues that we, as a group, have decided are important to our membership. We are also an organization fully committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion in principle and in practice. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are central to the organization's current and future success in engaging all individuals, households, communities, and policymakers in creating a more perfect democracy. Behind me, you will see a banner promoting the League's vote411.org website. On July 12th at this website, you will find information provided by the candidates who will be on the August 20th ballot, as well as their answers to written questions the League has asked. Right now, you will find an explanation of the 6 proposed amendments to the Florida Constitution that will be on the ballot in November. Last night, we held the Circuit Court Judicial Candidate Forum. If you missed it, you can view that on our League's YouTube channel. Tonight, we are focused on the County Court judicial races, which will be on the August 20th ballot. All registered voters in Broward County vote for these judges. Each Florida county has one county court. The county courts are sometimes referred to as the People's Courts, probably because a large part of the court's work involves citizens' disputes. County court hears civil disputes that are less than $30,000, as well as traffic and misdemeanors such as DUI, shoplifting, etc. There are 5 groups of county judges you will be voting for: Groups 6, 10, 16, 25, and 32. You will vote for one person in each group. To win, the candidate must obtain 50% plus one of the votes cast. In a race with 3 candidates, if no candidate reaches that goal, there will be a runoff election on November 5th. So we will be conducting the forums in numerical order of the groups. For tonight's forum, each candidate will have 1 minute to provide a self-introduction. This will be followed by 5 questions where each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. After question 3, we will have a lightning round of questions where the candidates will provide a yes or no answer with an explanation if necessary. And then we will conclude with each candidate providing a 1 minute closing. For the candidates, I will hold up a yellow star as a 10-second warning. And then I have a red heart when it's time to stop. And remember, I control the mute button. I will now turn the program over to our moderator, Suzette Hyde.
Good evening, everyone. We'll now start with Group 6, and we will ask each candidate to give a 1 minute self-introduction statement. Candidate McHugh, please give us your self-introduction statement.
Good evening, Suzette and Monica. Thank you for the invitation tonight. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for the opportunity to educate the electorate about my candidacy for County Court Judge. I'm a hometown candidate. I have lived in Broward County for 56 years. When my family first moved to Broward County in 1968, Griffin Road was a dirt road. So that just shows you how long I've lived in this county. Now Griffin Road's a 6-lane highway. I'm a graduate of Cardinal Gibbons High School, graduated from Cardinal Gibbons in 1986. I went on to Florida State University, where I obtained my Bachelor's of Science degree in criminology in 1990. From there, I came home and went to Nova Southeastern University, graduated from Nova in 1994. From there, I went right into public service work in the Broward County Public Defender's Office. I was an assistant Broward County Public Defender from 1995 until 1998 under Alan Schreiber. While there, I was awarded Misdemeanor Trial Attorney of the Year for the highest number of jury trials in 1 year. I had 32 jury trials in 1 year. After my service as a public defender, I went into private practice for 15 years doing civil and criminal cases. In 2012, I ran for office, and I was blessed by the people of Broward County with being elected in 2012. I've been a sitting judge now for 12 years. The first 9 years of my term.
Thank you.
Oh, that's it. Okay, sorry.
Candidate McHugh, can you see the cues from Ms.
No,
Elliott?
no, I can't. Nothing comes
Okay.
up.
How about only if she speaks? Is that when you're able to
Yes,
see
that's the
her?
only time I can see. I didn't know I was over my time.
Okay, can you change your view so that you're able to see the time cues That way we're not
Okay, yep.
interrupting you while
I
you're
have you
talking.
on, I have you on gallery now, so
All
I
right,
can see everything.
wonderful. Thank you. Candidate Shapiro, please give us your 1-minute self-introduction.
Hello, and thank you for having me as well. My name's Scott Shapiro. I also am a Broward resident, and I have been for approximately 43 of the 44 years I've been alive. Also, not counting when I went to school. I grew up in Coral Springs, Florida, and I went to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, where I graduated in 1998. I graduated from the University of Florida in 2002, and I also came back home to go to the University of Miami School of Law, where I graduated in 2005. Since then, I've been in private practice here in South Florida, primarily focused on real estate disputes and civil litigation. My court experience is pretty vast. Been to the trial court almost every day, my first 10 years working. And since then, I've still been trying cases for the last decade. It's been about 19 years since I became a member of the bar, and I look forward to being a member of the bar for the next 19. And I think becoming a judge would be the ultimate accomplishment for myself, and I think I could do a great job for the community in the county court.
Thank you. We will now ask you some questions which are just designed so that the voting public can get to know you a little bit better. And you will each have 1 minute in which to answer these questions. For the first question, what is a goal that you have yet to achieve, and why is it important to you? Candidate McHugh?
Well, my most important goal at this point is to be reelected as your county court judge for another 6-year term so that I can continue to give back to the community my 30 years of experience handling thousands of cases and presiding over hundreds of jury trials. That's my most important goal at this point. Secondly, I would say I just obtained my purple belt in jiu-jitsu. So my personal goal after that would be to get my black belt, and that'll probably be another 4 years.
Thank you. Candidate Shapiro, same question.
Okay, I mean, I guess we'll go with a professional goal would be to win this election and become a judge. And even if that does not seem to be the case this time, I will, attempt again to become a judge because it's very important for me to participate in the community as someone that's part of the legal system and as a judge. Personally, I've always wanted to see China. I know our relations with them aren't great right now, but I'm sure I'll get out there one day. That's, I guess, a goal. It's certainly something that's within the scope of achieving. It's just something I haven't gotten around to yet.
The next question. In your opinion, what role does punishment play in our judicial system? Candidate Shapiro.
Well, punishment plays a penalty, and I suppose it offers a deterrence as well. With respect to the deterrence effect, I don't know how successful that's been over the last 50 years. Recidivists seem to fall back to their old ways as much as they don't. But as far as the penalty part, it's also been something that I think is sometimes too hard on offenders of lesser crimes. But that's my opinion on what punishment is. I mean, I can go more in depth on the ideology behind it, but it's been a while since I've read Dostoevsky.
Candidate McHugh.
Yes, I presided in the domestic violence division for 9 years. And in that division, there were minimum mandatory sentences whenever somebody was adjudicated guilty of the crime. So punishment was always a factor for me to consider. If someone was convicted of a domestic violence offense, there would be a minimum mandatory of 10 days in jail. So I would regularly have to enforce that punishment. However, if there wasn't a minimum mandatory, it would be very difficult for me to determine what the amount of punishment was going to be in a particular case, because you could have a person who had never been in trouble before in their life, and you could put them in jail for an hour and they would never re-offend again. However, you could have someone who could have a very long criminal history and you could give them the max, and they're just going to keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back. So for me, that was something that I really took seriously and I really grappled with, is the amount of punishment for each particular case.
Thank you. The next question. Have you ever made a regrettable decision? If so, tell us about it. Candidate McHugh.
Professionally or personally?
You may answer in any way that's fitting. Yeah.
I can't think of any decision that I made professionally that I regret. Personally, I think the thing that I regret most is not having children. I never had the opportunity to have children, and I love children with all my heart. A lot of my community service is dedicated to helping children. So I think personally, that's a big regret for me, is not to have children of my own.
Candidate Shapiro.
I'll answer this as a professional regret. About 10 years ago, I took on a client that I probably should not have taken on. It was a lucrative client. So, and at the time, money was definitely one of the factors I considered when taking on clients. He was an exceptionally wealthy individual, and the case that he brought to me was, while it was a colorable case in law, you could make a good faith argument about the facts of the case. I never felt comfortable about taking the case just because I didn't feel like I was pursuing justice in it. How's that? I was able to, exercise myself from being the gentleman's attorney before the case went to trial, just because I just didn't feel like I was the person to be representing the gentleman. And, he actually ended up settling with the government, actually it was, in federal court. But it was certainly a case that I was litigating for about 1.5 years, and I certainly regret taking it, just because every time I worked on it, I felt like I wasn't doing the right thing.
Thank you. We will now have what we call a lightning round. I will ask you a series of questions, and simply just raise your hand if your answer is yes. Have you ever received training to help deal with behavioral and mental health issues of your clients, litigants, or defendants? Candidate McHugh has raised her hand. Next question. Have you or are you in the process of being disciplined in one form or another by the Florida bar? No hands are raised. And this last question is for Candidate McHugh. Have you been reviewed, or are you in the process of being reviewed by the Florida Judicial Qualifications Commission? No hands are raised. And Candidate McHugh, you have a virtual hand raised. If you could lower that hand.
I do?
Yes, you do.
A virtual hand?
Yeah.
I don't
I'm
know
not
how
sure
to
who
do that.
gave you that one. It's a reaction at the bottom of the screen, it looks like.
I don't know how to, I don't see that, and I don't know how to change that.
Okay, well, we'll move on. There are no more questions requiring you to raise your hand.
Okay.
We have 2 questions remaining. The next question. How can we cultivate more trust in our judicial system? And Candidate McHugh, you may begin.
I think it's important to have community outreach, to go out into the public and speak to the community about the judicial system, especially our young people, to go into the schools. For example, I just went to Deerfield Beach Elementary for Career Day to talk to the 5th graders about what it's like being a judge. So I think educating the young people about the legal system and the judiciary is very important. I also like to bring students into the courtroom with me so they can sit on my bench and see what it's like to be a judge, and they can also wear my robe. And just the look on their face as they sit in the courtroom and they look over out into the gallery is priceless to me. Because I really feel that these kids, if they can see it, they can be it, and you can possibly change the course of their lives by giving them that incredible opportunity.
Candidate Shapiro, same question.
I agree with Judge McHugh. I think those are all wonderful ideas and wonderful things to do for the community as part of community outreach. The only thing I would probably add to that is I think judges should make themselves available for interviews. I know that's not the tradition either in Broward County or across the country, but judges are civil servants just like any other employee of the county. And they should sometimes be held accountable when there are issues in front of them that affect the entire county or the entire population. I would always make myself available to, the local journalists and other publications and channels that would like to know more about some of the reasoning behind decisions that I've made in the past. Obviously, I wouldn't speak to issues that were currently before me or future, but past decisions, I think, should be open to public scrutiny, and I'd be happy to participate in that.
Here is your final question. In your experience, what is the most misunderstood concept about our judicial system? Candidate Shapiro.
I guess it's not like it is on television, I guess would be the most misunderstood part. The antics that you see on trial court television shows, even some of the real trial court television shows, are far from the mundane features of trial court in real life. While we have, we go through the process of objections and opening statements and whatnot during trials, and motion practice can get a little heated, usually the atmosphere is quite collegial. It's not as adversarial as people would think. And I found that most judges, especially in Broward County, are there to get to the right answer as opposed to one side winning or losing. And I think the collegial atmosphere of judges and lawyers in Broward County is something we should continue to have and continue to promote. Any other misconceptions? I mean, some of the misconceptions are actually right on the money. A lot of times things take too long. A lot of times things are too expensive. And those are things we definitely have to do our best to get rid of. But I think people would be surprised to see how professional we can all actually be when we're on our best behavior.
Candidate McHugh, the same question.
I think the general public misunderstands a lot of the legal concepts in the law. For example, beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt. I think, for example, when you have high profile media cases and people are looking at these trials that go on in the public, they wonder how the jury can come up with that decision. And reasonable doubt is not an objective standard. It's a very subjective standard. It can be as simple as trying to explain this to the common person. What's reasonable to me may not be reasonable to the person that's sitting next to me. So I think that since everybody has a different life experience, they're all looking through a different lens. They all have a different filter as to what happens in the world. I think people feel like, well, this is the standard that we have beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt. How come we all don't agree that this is what happened, that this person is guilty or that this person is not guilty? And it's generally because it's a very personal standard. It's a very personal feeling. What's reasonable to one may not be reasonable to the next person.
Thank you both. We will now have closing statements by each candidate. And Candidate Shapiro, you'll have 1 minute to give us a closing statement.
Well, again, thank you for having me here today. I've found this type of setting can help voters, get to know candidates much better, because it's very rare that who's running for some of the more local elections here in Florida. And I appreciate the opportunity to have my face and voice out there. So thank you very much with respect to that. Just the hard sell on myself. I've been an attorney for almost 20 years. I've been in private practice. I'm running for the civil position, not a criminal position as judge. And I think I can bring a lot to the table with respect to my experience on a vast array of civil issues. And I think my temperament is the type that would only benefit the community by having me as a judge and making decisions that are in the best interest of everyone here in Broward County. Thank you.
Candidate McHugh, you'll have 1 minute to give a closing statement.
Yes, I have a vast amount of experience. I've been a member of the Florida Bar for 30 years. I've been lead trial counsel in over 100 jury trials as a private attorney, ranging from misdemeanor to murder cases. I've presided over hundreds of jury trials, thousands of cases, hundreds of bench trials and evidentiary hearings. I was assigned to the Domestic Violence Division for 9 years. That is historically a very high trial division. There's 90 judges in Broward. That division regularly was in the top 3 as far as the highest number of jury trials per year. And I did that for 9 years. I've been assigned now to the civil division for almost 3 years, doing small claims, personal injury, property damage, landlord tenant cases. I have a vast amount of experience. I have a very good trial skill set that I would like to bring to the people of Broward County if they would honor me once again with their vote on August 20th for Broward County Court Judge Group 6.
Thank you to both our candidates in Group 6, candidate Kathleen Mary McHugh and candidate Scott Russell Shapiro.
Thank you. And I will remove you two from the room, and we will bring in our next set of candidates. Okay, I believe they are all here. We are ready to go. Just to clarify again, that each candidate will have 1 minute to provide a self-introduction. Questions will be asked. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond, and then there's a 1 minute closing statement. Suzette, it's all yours.
Thank you to our candidates in Group 10. You'll now have the opportunity to give your self-introduction statements, starting with candidate Ariaza.
Good evening, Ms. Hyde, Ms. Elliott. I think we met before, Ms. Elliott, but nice to meet you again. Let me explain. My name is Alex Ariaza, and the reason that I'm running is the same one that I've had issues for a while. I've been practicing law for 30 years, and I see the problem getting worse and worse, and I see people just really not getting their day in court. And when we've had these forums before, and people talk about whether they want to see it run in an efficient way and in a way where it's cost effective. I don't believe that. I think that the individual's right to due process in a court is so essential that you can't compromise it just to be efficient. And I'm watching, I go to court and I see judges and I see how people handle it, and I can see why people have lost confidence in our judicial system. And that's why I'm running, so I can give people their day in court and run the court the way it's supposed to be run. I've been practicing law for 30 years. I've tried over 100 cases. I have all kinds of community involvement, and I'm very prepared at this point in my life to do this.
Thank you. Candidate Claremont, you have 1 minute to give a self-introduction statement.
Yes, good evening. My name is Woody Claremont. I'm glad to be here. I appreciate the League of Women Voters hosting this forum and all the information that's provided by Vote 411 to the voters, a one-stop place for information. I am originally from Brooklyn, New York. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and actually went to high school on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. I went to college a little ways upstate, a place called Binghamton. And after that, I moved to South Florida by 1993, I want to say. I worked not as an attorney right away, because actually I decided to get some life experience. Later on, I eventually did go to the University of Miami School of Law, where I received my law degree. I also have many other degrees. I have 2 associate's degrees, 3 bachelor's degrees, 3 master's degrees, in addition to my law degree. I began my career working in personal injury and workers' compensation. I then moved over to the state attorney's office where I prosecuted many criminal cases. I've received many awards for that, and also leadership positions. I was an assistant chief of DUI and traffic prosecution, a juvenile division chief as well. Then I transitioned over to the 11th Judicial Circuit of Florida as an assistant general counsel and staff attorney, where I essentially for 10 years worked with many judges behind the scenes, helping them with their cases, helping them with their hearings and trials. I eventually went on to work with Commissioner Keone McGee, and then as a Medicaid hearing officer, and now I'm in my current position as an assistant city attorney with Miami Beach. Thank you very much.
Candidate Stark, please give us your 1-minute self-introduction statement.
Thank you, Ms. Hyde and Ms. Elliott, for what you do with Vote 411. My name is Sam Stark. I'm running for County Court Judge in Group 10. 36 years old. I was born and raised in Broward County, went to elementary, middle, and high school here before I went up to Gainesville, where I graduated from the University of Florida with a Bachelor of Science degree. Then went up to New England Law in Boston. After graduating law school, I moved back to Broward County, worked at the Public Defender's Office for 3.5 years. I spent 1 year in county court handling criminal traffic offenses and misdemeanor offenses. Then I was promoted to felony, where I spent 2.5 years handling everything from third-degree felonies to punishable by life felonies. For the last 7 or so years, I've been working with my father at James and Stark, PA. We handle criminal law and family law. I handle mostly criminal, but I do dabble in some family. And from January of last year to April of this year, I was a traffic magistrate working in the 4 courthouses in Broward, presiding over traffic cases from arraignment to pretrial conferences to trial. I'm involved in various community organizations such as Habitat for Humanity, Sister Robin Street Market, Holy Cross Hospital, and Music Link Foundation.
Thank you. We'll now ask you a series of questions which are just designed to help the voters get to know you a little bit better. The first question: how do you stay connected to your community? Candidate Ariaza.
I've been in this community all my life practically. I went to Stranahan High School. I went to Broward Community College. But you know that even though I'm from here, the way that I've been connected is I belong to a lot of different organizations. I've in the past, I was with the Latin Chamber. I was with America's Community Center. I've done work with the United Way. I've been part of a group called Aspida. We encourage young people to go to higher education. I'm a member of the Kiwanis. I did a lot of work with the Hispanic Bar, and I've been involved with other community, but mostly, you know, I've done all that with the community. But the most important thing for me is I've been involved over the last few years. I was involved in the Parkland case, and I think that particular case has really helped us address the problems in our educational system, and I think we're better for it.
Thank you. Candidate Claremont, same question. How do you stay connected to your community?
Yes, I'm currently with the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, where I try to promote more learning about history. I'm also a silver member with the NAACP. I also engage in a lot of tutoring as well, because as I indicated earlier, that I have a lot of education. I also believe in not just keeping that education for myself, but also, you know, sharing the wealth, helping to mentor younger students. I also served as a professor at Key College, teaching court reporters and paralegals, as well as at Miami-Dade College as well, teaching economics and statistics. I also am a member of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, where we pride ourselves on community service, where we help local schools, and we are out there in the community doing whatever needs to be done. I'm also an active member of Volunteer Hands-on Broward, where we have different assignments that are given by different individuals that need community service. And additionally, one second here, sorry, let's see if I missed anything. I am also going through the process of being enrolled with Big Brothers and Big Sisters to become a big. Thank you.
Candidate Stark, the same question.
I stay involved with the community, basically just continuing to do and participate in the organizations that I'm a part of, such as Habitat and Sister Robin Street Market. It's important to be involved in these events to get to know the people of Broward County. In working with these organizations, you meet people from all sorts of socioeconomic and demographic backgrounds, and you get to know the people of this county. And it's very important to do. And if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, I have every intention to continue to be involved with these organizations, to show that just because somebody's on the bench doesn't mean that they're a bigger or better person than any regular person on the street.
Thank you. The next question. How do you communicate to others that they have been heard and understood? Candidate Claremont, you have 1 minute.
Yes, I think it was a case involving a second-degree murder where I had to communicate with the next of kin. And it was a very difficult process because as I analyzed this particular case, I realized that even though the detectives were like, oh, this is a great place, this is a slam dunk. I looked at the case and I was like, you don't have enough evidence here. If we file charges, this is an awesome responsibility. And we can't just file charges just based on a maybe or a possibility. We have to be able to prove these charges beyond a reasonable doubt. And so having that conversation with the next of kin was very difficult, but I was upfront. I was honest. I even let her know that actually the case had been featured on the first 48 hours and that, but unfortunately that the information she would be seeing on the first 48 hours is actually completely different from what I have. Unfortunately, reality television is very sensationalized. And so according to them, the case was already filed and was already set for trial when in fact, none of that had happened. So I related to her as honestly as possible. She said she appreciated it, but obviously she was devastated by it because it was her brother that was killed. And unfortunately, she felt that she wasn't going to get justice for her brother's murder. But unfortunately, I had to give her the truth. Thank you.
Candidate Stark, same question. How do you communicate to others that they have been heard and understood?
Well, I think it is not only verbal, but it's also physical. It requires eye contact. You don't want to give off the demeanor that somebody's not important enough for you to make eye contact with them. And you want to be respectful in your tone and the way you present yourself. When you're making a ruling one way or the other, you want to let them know, listen, this is what you said. I've understood what you said, but this is the law that I'm applying, whether it's to their benefit or to their detriment. So it involves both physically respecting somebody and verbally respecting somebody.
Candidate Ariaza, you have 1 minute to answer the same question.
It's kind of interesting. You're talking about how you're communicating. And the one thing I've learned over the 30 years and the hundreds of cases that I've done is you have to listen. You have to, when that individual is in front of you, you give them your undivided attention. You don't sit there playing with your phone or playing with the computer or just, everybody's gotten so used to doing this multitasking. No, you give them the attention. When other candidates talk about, the efficiency of the court and this is the people's moment. So how do you communicate to them? You listen. You put your undivided attention at them, and with those simple things, they'll walk out like they've been heard. Now, decisions are going to be made in court. You're going to like some, you're going to dislike others. But I can tell you that in my years of experience, if you give the individual, without rushing them, their moment, they'll be okay with the decision.
Thank you. The third question. Sometimes you are asked to make decisions quickly and with limited information. When you are asked to do that, what is your thought process? Candidate Stark, you may begin.
The first thing that comes to mind when you have to make a quick decision is to make sure you have all of the information available to you to make the judicious decision, irrespective of whatever the time pressures may be. You don't want to let time be the reason that somebody doesn't inure the benefits of the law. I think that says it all right there.
Candidate Ariaza.
I'm going to tell you something. I refuse to accept that kind of thing. I can tell you when I was Mr. Stark's age and I'm starting, I make quick decisions in law, and I've learned that the chances are when you make a quick decision, more chances of making mistakes. I slow it all down. I slow it down. If I got to make a quick decision, I'm not going to make a decision about somebody's life. We'll put it off another day until I have all the information, because quick decisions in law, all they do is create a problem. Now, if it's about safety in a courtroom or something happens, okay, I can understand in that moment when when it comes about somebody's gonna get hurt, a woman is getting battered, yeah, you gotta shut it down. You gotta get the guy out of there. You gotta do whatever you need to do for safety. I understand there's exigent circumstances. But when you don't have to make that decision quick and you don't have all the information, you wait till you get as much as you can. And then you make the decision about the individual's life. They deserve that much.
Candidate Claremont, the same question.
Yes, I have to say that I agree with Mr. Ariaza's thought process there, that I don't like being rushed into decisions, not because I don't feel that that there aren't situations that are going to call for it, because when that happens, then I'm going to get organized. You get organized, you move quickly, you figure out what are the most important issues in that moment. You do your legal research as quickly as you can. I've had to do that many times with certain judges that had me in the courtroom during murder trials, and they needed certain things that they were going to do because the defense wanted to put on a particular type of evidence, or the state wanted to put on a particular type of evidence, and they needed, right now I need to know, because I can't just keep, adjourning the jury and then, saying that, hey, let's deal with the issue. I need quick answers. And so in those cases, I did go in, I dug deep. I looked at the most important things. I did my case law research. I was very thorough. I gave answers for it, and those decisions were made at that moment. But if I had to, I would not do things that way. I would actually tell the judge, or if I'm the judge, actually, I would try to defer ruling on certain matters until I've gotten more information and I'm able to make a confident actual decision and result. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now have what we call a lightning round. For these next two questions, simply raise your hand if the answer is yes. Have you ever received training to help deal with behavioral and mental health issues of your clients, litigants, or defendants? All candidates have raised their hands. Next question. Have you or are you in the process of being disciplined in one form or another by the Florida Bar? No hands are raised. We will now continue to the last two questions. As a judge, what do you believe your main function will be, and how do you plan to communicate that to the public? Candidate Ariaza.
The function as a judge is to make sure that due process is completed. With those simple words, you work everything else around that. You make sure that individuals, like the question that you had before, you listen to them. You make sure that they're heard, that they listen to all the evidence that they present. Don't make them feel like they're in McDonald's and you're getting rushed out or unimportant. Most important thing is don't make them feel like they're not important, because all of us are at the courthouse for the public. We're in a service business, so we should always make them feel comfortable. And at that point, when you have that, then you allow the individuals, you're going to play referee and make sure that both sides do what they're supposed to do and play within the rules. If we can accomplish that, which I don't think the system is accomplishing it right now, I think we would be way better off and the public would have a lot more confidence in us.
Candidate Claremont, same question.
Well, I believe that, as according to the third canon of the rules of judicial conduct, that judges must perform their duties impartially and diligently. And so this is one of the most important things that has to be done, is that when a judge is on the bench, they have to, everyone that comes before them, they have to treat them with respect. They have to treat them with dignity. They have to show them that they are being heard. They need to have their time in court. But by the same token, diligently also implies that the matters have to be moved along in a way that is fair to all litigants, because of course, some dockets can run very long. Shortchanging anybody, that's not what's going to happen whatsoever. But there are more efficient ways you can do certain things in which, if you run your courtroom the right way, you can get people in and out of there the way they need to be, because some people like to try to interrupt. Some people want to tell you their story. You have to remind them, hey, look, this is not the trial. We're not here for that. Today, we're just at a certain stage of proceeding. I need to know, what are we doing at this stage of proceeding? Are we going to take a plea? Are we going to move forward? Are we going to, you know, in other words, what is going to be done? And a judge has to be able to command that respect, but also show respect to everyone that comes before them, so that everyone from all walks of life knows that they are receiving justice in that moment. Thank you.
Candidate Stark, the same question. As a judge, what do you believe your main function will be, and how do you plan to communicate that to the public?
Well, I don't think a judge just has one main function. There are several functions that a judge has, none more important than the other. Managing a courtroom effectively, treating individuals with respect, applying the law to the facts of the case, and ensuring that all individuals are given their due process rights. And in order to communicate this, I would make sure that my reputation is one where people know that I'm fair, people know that I'm impartial, people know that I'm transparent in my rulings, and people know that I give all parties a voice before making a ruling on a particular matter.
Thank you. We're now on to the final question. Would you motivate someone to aspire to a career in law? If yes, please explain how you would do so. Candidate Claremont.
Yes, I mean, this actually happens for me all the time. It's like literally, you know, when I encounter people, and sometimes they're at younger stages in their career, they might be in, say, middle school or high school, or maybe they're going through college. And I talk with them, and I'm very realistic with them about what the law is about, because there are lots of different ways to practice law. Not all of it involves being in the courtroom. Some of it may be involved, maybe transactional things that go on if you're like, say, like an in-house counsel to a corporation or something like that. But when I talk with them about it, I try to listen. It's always good to be a good listener and to hear what the person is aspiring to. And if I can find a way to kind of guide them and show them that, yes, there is a path for you, but this is what you're going to need to do, because certain types of studies that you undertake, both in undergrad and then in law school, will lead you to the career you want. Like if someone tells me, well, I really like science a lot, then I would say, well, you know what? You should get a science degree, because so many people try to get like a political science degree, but you can actually get any degree and become a lawyer. So I would tell them, hey, look, you know, take your degree in biology or chemistry, and then eventually when you get through law school, you can eventually take classes in intellectual property, and then you can challenge the patent bar at that point. And then you can put both your science knowledge as well as legal knowledge to work. Thank you.
Candidate Stark, the same question.
So I've had on occasion people who are in undergrad thinking about going to law school ask me as an attorney, hey, I want to be a lawyer. What do you think? And my answer is always the same. If you want to be in a position where you can help people, then do it. It can be challenging work, can be some of the most challenging work, but it can also be the most rewarding work. And we're all on this earth together. We live in community, and it's our job to help our neighbors out if we can. And lawyers are sometimes put in the best position to do that.
Candidate Ariaza, the same question.
I've had this situation with, I work with Aspira, which is young kids, and I've worked with the United Way, the Boys and the Girls Club. And what I do with them is, you know, being an attorney can be a real mystique for people. So they got 20 million questions when they ask me what kind of trial. So I look back when I was younger, and I remember when I was a new lawyer, and I wanted in the game, coach. I wanted the courtroom. I don't want to look at a contract. I don't want to look at a dental. I want in the courtroom. And so I remember, because these young guys do the same thing. So what I tell them is, when I see they're excited, I answer their questions as best that I can. And then I invite them to go to work with me. I've taken a lot to work with me. And let me tell you, when you take them into a courtroom or in that environment, that will mean more than anything that you can say to them, or go help the community or whatever. I mean, in that moment, you can see that you can make a difference. And showing them. Thank you, Miss Elliott.
Thank you all. You will now have the opportunity to give a 1-minute closing statement. And we'll begin first with candidate Stark.
Thank you. And thank you for your time this evening. I'm enduring this. I'm going through this endeavor because I want to serve the people of Broward County. I've lived here my entire life. I love this place with all my heart, with all my soul, and I want to give back to the people of Broward. I think that if you talk to anybody in the courthouse or outside of the courthouse, they'll tell you that that I'm a humble person, that I'm very even-tempered, and I believe those are the qualities that should be exhibited on the bench. And if elected, I promise to maintain those qualities and to give my all to the position, to bring respect, dignity, and honor to the position of being a judge. I've been backed by a Fraternal Order of Police, Police Benevolence Association, International Union of Police Associations, and I believe they all they believe that I possess those qualities as well, and that I would be a good fit on the bench. So I'm doing this because I really, really, from the bottom of my heart, want to serve the community and make it a better place.
Candidate Claremont, your 1-minute closing statement.
Yes, one of my biggest fans out here rooting for me to win this election is my daughter. And I remember a couple of years ago, we had Take Your Child to Work Day, and I brought her in and, allowed her to go with the kids that were basically going with other kids in the courthouse. And they eventually had this sort of like a play they did, where they were all given lines. And so she ended up getting picked as the judge. And it was very interesting to watch her, how animated she was. And, she put on the robes and she took on that quality. I said to myself, you know what? I want to be someone that makes her proud in the future, because she understands what the awesome responsibility of a judge is, and I understand what the awesome responsibility of a judge is. Once again, League of Women Voters, I want to thank you for hosting this forum. Voters of Broward County, I am the best candidate in this race to become your next judge. I am a judge who upholds integrity, independence. I am impartial, I'm diligent, and I'm trying to improve the field of law. And so I believe that when you see everything that I have to offer and what I can do for Broward County, that you will remain convinced that I am the best person to be on the bench because of the qualifications that I have. These two gentlemen here are very fine gentlemen, but I do believe that I'm the stronger candidate. Thank you.
Candidate Ariaza, your 1-minute closing statement.
Thank you. I also, Ms. Hyde and Miss Elliott, I want to thank you guys for having us for the forum. And I tell you that the reason that I'm running is, I'm not going to give you a pretty speech. Our system is in trouble. I mean, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out we're in trouble. And in order to get on that bench, you got to bring something different. These two gentlemen, they're good guys and they have a good heart, but that's not enough. They don't have the experience that I have. They don't have the life experience in this county over the last 60 years that I've been here. And I can provide it to the bench. And when you want somebody to make a decision, to listen over your case, you want that person to have life experience, legal experience, not just be a nice guy. That's not enough when you're making decisions. I can provide not only the legal experience, but the life experience to bring the system back to where it's supposed to be. I want to tell you that it's not enough to be a nice guy. You need the experience and the knowledge, and that's what I bring. Thank you again. Thank you again for having us.
Thank you to all our candidates in Group 10, Alex Ariaza, Woody Claremont, and Samuel Ford Stark.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mom.
Thank you. So I will remove these candidates and we will go on to the next one, next group.
Good evening again.
Hello.
How are you?
Nope. What happened?
Yes, pictures and voice are good. Again, just a reminder to the audience, they will have a 1-minute introduction, then they will respond to questions with a 1-minute closing. And I will turn it over to Suzette. Thank you.
Welcome to our candidates in Group 16. You'll now have the opportunity to give us a 1-minute self-introduction statement, and we will start with candidate Angione.
Thank you. Thank you, Miss Elliott and Miss Hyde, for having us here today. My name is Kathleen Angione. I have been a resident of Pompano Beach for over 50 years. I grew up here. I went to Cypress Elementary, Pompano High School, Pompano Middle. I went to FAU for college, and then I went over to Nova for my law degree. I have been an attorney now for 25 years. I am in the courthouse every day. I am a guardian ad litem. I am a hearing officer for the St. Petersburg Housing Authority, where I act in a quasi-judicial position already. I think it's really important that everyone in this county feels that they have an opportunity to appear before a fair judge, an impartial judge, somebody who listens and makes sure that the diversity of our county is respected and justice is served for everyone.
Candidate Zager, your 1-minute
Hi.
self-introduction statement.
Thank you very much. Ms. Elliott, Ms. Hyde, thank you very much for having us, and thank you for the League of Women Voters to give us this opportunity. A little bit about myself. I've been in Broward County since 1989. I grew up in New York, raised by a single mom. I began working at age 11, and thereafter I came down to Florida and worked and put myself through school. I went to the University of Miami for 2 years and transferred to FIU, where I got my degree in hospitality. And I worked in the hospitality industry for quite a few years, and then decided to go to law school. And after obtaining my law degree, I worked as an assistant state attorney for about 13 years, which began my public service, where I created the cyber crimes unit. I gained extensive trial experience. In addition to that, I practice family law, and I have been doing so for the past total about 12 years. I look forward to serving Broward County, and thank you again for allowing us to be here and give you the opportunity to learn a little bit more about us. Thank you.
Thank you both. We'll now ask you a series of questions just designed to help the voters get to know you a little bit better. The first question, tell us more about what you currently do and how it is important to the public. Candidate Angione, you may begin first.
Okay, so I have always wanted to be a judge, and I have been a trial attorney, an appellate attorney, and I've done all of that in the circuit court system. So about 5 years ago, I decided that it was actually time for me to decide if I wanted to be a judge, it was time to do it. So 5 years ago, I committed to practicing in county court as well. So I'm still in circuit court, and I'm still doing trial work and all that, but I'm also now appearing daily in county court, because if you're going to do something, then you certainly have to prepare for and make sure, A, that you love it, and B, that you're good at it. So I started doing that, and I appear before all of the county court judges in Broward. I appear at all the different courthouses, so the south one, the main courthouse in the north. And what I find is that I really love it. It's so you hear people say the people's court. It really is the people's court, and it's so different from circuit court. What you get to do is you get to interact with people from, we have a lot of people that come from other countries and things, and they don't know how our system works. And you have a lot of people who've never been in court before, and I love that human interaction. So having tested it now, I know after 5 years of doing it, I was ready to take the plunge.
Candidate Zager, the same question.
Thank you. I've been practicing for 25 years, and for 25 years, I've been in both county and circuit court pretty much on a daily basis, in criminal and in civil. And hopefully when I'm elected, you don't know where you're going to be, whether you're going to be in civil court or criminal court. I have the benefit of 25 years of practicing in both arenas. I have over 85 jury trials, and a jury trial is a little different animal than just a regular trial, and with basic bench trials and motions and evidentiary hearings. There's thousands of those that I've had over the years, and in doing that and going to court on a daily basis and having appeared not just in front of all the county court judges, but most of the circuit court judges, even those that now may be independency or some other aspect of the courthouse. After so many years of doing this, I really feel that I am very well prepared, and what I do on a daily basis has set me up for success when I get elected to be county court and really help and serve the people of Broward County. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question. The county court is often referred to as the people's court. Do you believe that all citizens currently have adequate access to legal help and the legal system? If not, what can be done to provide wider and better access?
I think.
Candidate Zager, yes, you may begin.
Okay. I think in the criminal court system, there definitely is adequate access to representation and help. Obviously, like if somebody gets arrested, if somebody cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you, whether it's county court or circuit court. The issue then becomes when you're dealing with civil court. And unfortunately, there are certain aspects that until the legislature assists in getting additional resources and or the laws are changed to provide additional resources for the public, I think it'll be incumbent upon the judges and court staff to assist those people in ways they can. But remember, a judge is kind of like a neutral umpire. They're not there to take sides or assist one side over the other. They're there to make sure that they listen to everybody. And even if in civil court, if somebody can't afford an attorney, the job is going to be to make sure that that person comes in and is felt heard and listened to, and that whatever decision comes down, that they understand why it came down and why they may have won or lost. And hopefully that'll be the best way to help the citizens until something else changes.
Candidate Angioni, this same question.
So I'm in county court every day, and I really sit at the courthouse every single day. And when there are people there, we have, especially in the small claims world, we have literally maybe 150 to 200 cases going off on any docket. And it's very easy to talk to people I get there early every day, because my concern is that the people that are sitting there haven't slept. They're very stressed out. They don't know what to expect. I can be there and I can just be kind, right? I can look them in the eye. I can talk to them for a minute. I can ask them if they have questions. I can make sure they speak our language, because if they don't speak English, sometimes they speak Spanish or sometimes they speak French. Maybe we need to get them help. And maybe we have somebody that can assist them, and I'd be happy to get them somebody that can assist them. Sometimes it's another defendant that'll step over and help. Sometimes we have mediators that are bilingual or trilingual. I can speak to them if I want to, like if I can speak their language, I'll certainly try. But yes, we need to be so embracing with these folks that they're not fearful of our system. They know justice truly is available for everyone. And I love being part of that.
Thank you. The third question. A judge is a highly visible symbol of government under the rule of law. What changes have you made or will you make as your visibility increases? Candidate Angioni, the question's yours.
Okay. So my husband said to me, so I am a very people person. So I really like interacting with everyone. So when I go to the courthouse, I see a lot of the same people all the time. I'm the first one to hug people. I'm a hugger. So that is one thing my husband said, you will have to stop hugging everyone because I'll hug the bailiffs, I'll hug the people, it's just, I'm very, interactive that way. I truly do like people. In terms of my professional life, I've always been the person that's just had that calm demeanor that I really do believe the best decisions are well reasoned. I'm patient. I naturally like to talk to people, as you can tell. So I think that what I'll do is I'll probably just maybe not hug them so they don't feel like I'm being partial. But I think that a lot of my life, I already live by those standards. So I think I'll just continue doing the same thing and I'll be as visible as possible so that people feel like I'm a relatable person. And I think that that will go far for our judiciary.
Candidate Zager, the same question.
Thank you. I think as my visibility increases, I think the job is going to be to make sure that more people are aware of the accessibility of the courtroom and the welcoming environment that I hope to let people know about and embrace. And when people come into the courtroom, in addition to being visible, to keep visible is to show the people that come in that we're going to move things swiftly, but expedience is not going to take the place of being properly efficient, meaning that, again, listening to everybody, doing it the right way, making sure people feel that they are heard properly, and letting the word spread that, listen, if you come into court, you come into my courtroom, that you're going to be heard, you're going to be listened to, and you're going to know that your case is going to move along quickly and decisions will be decided quickly. The worst thing that can happen is for somebody to go to court and have their day in court, have a trial, and then the next thing you know, it's 6 months later, no decision's been made, and people sit in limbo. I think that's one of the worst things that can happen to somebody, and I think, I hope that it'll be known that if you come into my courtroom, that things will move quickly, efficiently, and fairly. Thank you.
Thank you both. We'll now have what we called a lightning round. For the next 2 questions, simply raise your hand if your answer is yes. Have you ever received training to help deal with behavioral and mental health issues of your clients, litigants, or defendants? Both candidates have raised their hands. Next question. Have you or are you in the process of being disciplined in one form or another by the Florida Bar? No hands are raised. We'll now continue with our last 2 questions. It has been said that we are a litigious nation. Do you agree or disagree? Briefly explain your answer. Candidate Angioni, you may begin.
I think that we are probably compared to a lot of the world. I think that when you're an innovative country like the United States is, and we're trying to push the boundaries of sciences, computer technology, healthcare, I think that inherently we're going to try to develop and innovate. And I think that when that goes wrong, then I think that, there are people that are, going to be hurt by it in some instances. And I think that the natural way that some people deal with that is by filing lawsuits. I don't know that it's something that we can, we certainly can't stop innovating. As an attorney, no, I don't think that I would necessarily ever sue anyone. I think probably most attorneys feel that way because we see the inside of that process and what that process actually looks like. But I think as long as you're, a leading country and you're pioneering brand new things, medical devices or technology, I think that that's just going to be inherent in that process, given our form of government.
Candidate Zager, the same question.
I would say that I do believe that we are a litigious society. And I would say for better or worse, we have a system that allows somebody, if they feel they are wronged in whatever fashion, they have a right to go to court to seek justice. That's the whole point of the justice system. It's for somebody who has been wronged to go to court and have somebody who is a neutral arbitrator decide, or have a neutral jury decide what's going to be hopefully a fair outcome. So I think that we are litigious. I think we're remain litigious. I think, however, it will be a judge's job to make sure that even though somebody can file a lawsuit for almost any reason, and we can be litigious, that we not become overly litigious. And it's got to be the judge's job to weed out cases that have no merit. Just because somebody filed a case doesn't mean it's supposed to be heard. And that's also a judge's job, is to make sure that everybody receives justice, whether you're bringing the lawsuit or defending a lawsuit.
We're on to the final question. What is a goal that you have yet to achieve, and why is it important to you? Candidate Zager.
Well, a goal that I've yet to achieve is being elected judge, which I hope to have happen. And it's important to me because I started off my legal career in public service as an assistant state attorney, representing victims. Most importantly, I created the cybercrime unit that prosecutes against child pornography and computer child exploitation. It was so important to me to be in public service. And I am now, after 25 years of practice, like I said, in criminal and in civil, all different aspects from misdemeanors to homicides and family law, that I have the opportunity now, again, to be in public service, to serve the people of Broward County. And that's what I hope to achieve by achieving this goal of being elected and being able to serve the people of Broward County, which I think is a great honor. And I look forward to it. Thank you.
Candidate Angioni, the same question.
So I would say, first of all, on a personal level, I'm trying to launch two kids here. I have a 27-year-old and a 22-year-old. And so one of my goals is just to make sure that, like they're happy and that they, are settled in their life. And that's something, like they're still going through that process of finding their person and doing that. So one of my goals is to make sure that the two young people that I've put in this world are, worthy of who we are, and that, that they are a benefit to society. In terms of a goal, obviously, I've laid a foundation for the last 5 years to become a judge. I think it's going to be wonderful when I'm elected, and I'm super excited to get started. It was something that took a lot of, careful planning and consideration. I've laid the appropriate foundation for it, and so that's something that's really exciting. Another thing I want to do is I'm a scuba diver, so I would like to dive the wall in St. Croix. I had the opportunity to go there a few years ago, and we dove basically, did a beach dive, but I haven't dived on the wall, and I'd like to do that. So I guess that's a spectrum of personal and professional. I'd also love to increase the reading rate in Broward County. I learned we're challenged there, so I do help in that regard, and I'd like to further that.
Thank you both. You will now have the opportunity to give us a 1-minute closing statement. Candidate Zager, you may begin.
Thank you, Ms. Hyde. Thank you, Ms. Elliott. Again, League of Women Voters, for the opportunity for you to get to know a little bit more about me and the reasons why I want to be judge. And with that, again, after 25 years of practicing law in Broward County, living in Broward County since 1989, and raising my children here, based on my vast experience in both the criminal and civil arenas in county court and circuit court, I think it has really prepared me to step in and just hit the ground running. And I really hope that the people of Broward County look at my experience, look at my desire to give back again, to go back to public service, which really, this is what this is about. I mean, to be a judge, to do this for a living, to be scrutinized, if you will, at times, it's because I want to serve the people of Broward County. I did it for many years. I unfortunately had to stop for a little while. But now I'm in a position where I'm able to go back, and hopefully I'll be given that opportunity to go back and serve the people of Broward County with all my experience, and make them proud that they make the right decision. Thank you.
Candidate Angioni, your 1-minute closing statement, please.
So I too have practiced for 25 years. I've practiced in civil. Most of the cases that were filed, if you look at the Florida courts, the administrators' reports, 247,000 and I think 619 cases were filed last year in county court. Those were the civil ones. On the criminal side, there were 24,000 and change. It's a big disparity. In terms of, I was part of that. So I've been preparing for this. I didn't just decide one day I wanted to throw my name in a hat. I've been preparing and laying a foundation for it. I've also been so involved in my community. I read to the children to make sure that they're understanding the legal system, that our literacy rate is increasing. I act as a hearing officer for the St. Petersburg Housing Authority, so I'm already doing this job in a related role. I had the experience. I literally, not only as a lawyer, had the experience of 25 years of circuit court work, but I also have literally in county court. I appear there literally every day. So I think that I would love to serve the county in this role. I think I've demonstrated the ability to do it successfully. And thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you both to our candidates in Group 16, Kathleen Elaine Angioni and Joseph Zager. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you very much. Have a good night. Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. And I will remove these two candidates from the room and bring in our next two candidates. Okay, we have both candidates in the room now. Just a quick reminder, there will be a 1-minute introduction and then questions where you have 1 minute to respond and then a 1-minute closing statement. And it's all yours, Suzette.
We welcome our candidates in Group 25, and you will now have the opportunity to give us your 1-minute self-introduction statement. And we will start first with candidate Friedman.
Good evening. Thank you, Monica and Suzette. Thank you to the League of Women Voters of Broward County for this opportunity. Folks, I grew up in Broward County, and Broward County is my home. I went to elementary school and middle school in Plantation. I went to high school in Fort Lauderdale. For law school, I went to Nova, and I graduated with honors, and I was selected by my graduate class to be the commencement speaker at the law school. I'm admitted to practice in Florida, California, New York, and the District of Columbia, as well as 2 federal courts here in Florida. After graduating law school, I was hired by the law school to come back as an adjunct professor to help new law graduates study for and pass the Florida bar examination. My wife and I live here in Florida with our 2 daughters. Adelaide is 9 months old, and Finley is a little over 2.5 years old. Both of them go to school here in Broward as well. For more than 12 years, I've litigated cases all over the state of Florida in both state and federal court. I've been to verdict a number of times. My legal background is in complex commercial litigation and catastrophic injury. Folks, I have the temperament, I have the skill set, and I'd very much appreciate your vote as we approach the August 20th deadline.
Candidate Hamilton, your 1-minute self-introduction statement.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tamar Hamilton, your candidate in Group 25 for Broward County Court Judge. My community engagement, my temperament, and my legal experiences has prepared me and given me the unique experience as the role of a judge in this group. I believe in fair and equitable treatment under the law for all. The diversity of my practice has prepared me to do so. A diverse experience of fair and equitable treatment is the approach that I will bring to the bench, contributing to the legal acumen and community understanding. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having us. I look forward to sharing more with you.
We will now ask you a series of questions just designed to help our voters to get to know you a little bit better. And you'll have 1 minute in which to answer these questions. Who do you typically go to for advice and why? Tell us about that person. Candidate Friedman.
That the answer is easy. It's my wife. And we've been married for 8 years. We've known each other for 10 years. And I know enough to know that sometimes I can't see the forest for the trees. And there are oftentimes situations where she's just able to see things in a certain way or offer a different perspective to something that helps me understand things which make a little bit more sense. So unquestionably, that answer is my wife.
Candidate Hamilton, the same question.
Thank you. I will speak more on the professional level, and that will be a long-standing law school professor, Carol Ziner, who was my property law professor, and the person who I also was her legal research and intern writer in law school. From a professional standpoint and based on the areas of my practice, I respect her philosophies. I have great respect for her knowledge in the legal profession, her contribution that she has made to the legal profession, and just how respected she is. And so most of the matters that I've had to handle, if there's any concerns or legal guidance needed, she would be the person I look to. And she has never steered me wrong.
Thank you. The next question. How do you define justice? Candidate Hamilton, you may begin.
Justice is fair and equitable treatment. It is, for me, it is the result of our action as legal professionals that results in the trust that the community, our colleagues will put not just into us, but into our legal profession. So it is the way we rule on matters based on the law that is fair and equitable to all.
Candidate Friedman, the same question.
There are volumes of books written on the philosophy of what justice is. My best attempt to give you something less than 1 minute is justice is a fair result or a fair outcome given a bad set of circumstances. And that, I think, best summarizes what justice is.
Thank you. The third question. The county court is often referred to as the people's court. Do you believe that all citizens currently have adequate access to legal help and the legal system? If not, what can be done to provide wider and better access? We're going to start with Candidate Friedman.
The answer is no. In county court, you've got both civil actions and you've got criminal actions. In the civil cases, the Florida Bar, as well as certain other legal aid organizations, try to provide some sort of public service to give people counsel, but it's not always adequate. On the criminal side, it's a little bit different because you've got the public defender's office. So I do see that there are problems, at least with the civil aspect of county court. Secondly, what I think you have too, oftentimes because county court is the people's court, and Florida, at least Broward County, is such a diverse mix of citizens, there are oftentimes a lot of people who don't speak English as their primary language. So ensuring that we have the right translators and people who can help those that do not have English as their primary language, I think is also important to making sure that litigants get their day in court.
Candidate Hamilton, the same question.
Thank you. I do believe that in our people's court, our community do have access to the legal support and help that they will need, but it's to know where. I believe more effort is needed in educating the people in our community as to the different resources that are available to provide legal services. Recently, there has been a lot of collaboration with the various bar associations here in Broward County. Law schools are coming together, municipalities are coming together to bring out legal help, legal resources, not just legal aid, but pro bono services. A lot of attorneys are now participating in pro bono efforts, collaborating with a lot of these nonprofit organizations. So I believe the effort needs to be put into making this information readily available to the public as to the various sources available where they can get legal help. Thank you.
We'll now have what we call a lightning round. For the next set of questions, simply raise your hand if your answer is yes. Have you ever received training to help deal with behavioral and mental health issues of your clients, litigants, or defendants? Both candidates have raised their hands. Next question. Have you or are you in the process of being disciplined in one form or another by the Florida Bar? No hands are raised. We're now on to the final two questions. Sometimes you're asked to make decisions quickly and with limited information. When you're asked to do that, what is your thought process? Candidate Friedman, you may begin.
As I'll give you an example. I was in mediation the other day, and the opposing counsel and the mediator tried to force my client and me to make a quick decision. And I refused to do that because I knew that the consequences would have been disastrous for my client. I told them we're not going to do that. And if that means that the case doesn't resolve then and there, then that's the decision we'll live with and we'll move forward to trial. As a judge, you don't make quick decisions. You ask for more information. You do your own legal research if needed. You reserve ruling if you need more information. And, fortunately or unfortunately, I've learned in the past, you don't make quick decisions and you don't make decisions based on limited information.
Candidate Hamilton, the same question.
Thank you. In our People's Court, I do understand, and having worked primarily in the civil practice area with a lot of families, there are times where I myself as an attorney need a quick decision, and the court does provide for those emergency type motions where judges are placed in the position to make quick decision based on the circumstances. However, as your next Broward County Court judge, what is important, if placed in such a critical state to make a quick decision, we take a practical approach, upholding the legal integrity of the legal process and ensuring a fair and equitable resolution for all the parties involved in that matter.
Thank you. We're now on to the final question. A judge is a highly visible symbol of government under the rule of law. What changes have you made or will you make as your visibility increases? Candidate Hamilton.
As my visibility increases as your next Broward County judge, one change that I'm looking forward, number one, is diversity is really important on the judicial bench. Diversity representation is absolutely necessary and important in today. There's been a lot of effort in the court to train, to have diversity initiative training and sensitivity training, but the effectiveness of that varies. And so one change I would make is to be part of the effort to continue to educate our community on our courts process and be visible in our community, partnering where it is applicable to bring awareness of our court system, how it operates.
Candidate Friedman, the same question.
I think as my visibility increases, and as a judge, I'll make sure that everyone understands that they had the opportunity to be heard. I'll do everything I can to keep the courthouse doors open for everyone. I'll make sure that I issue my rulings on an expedited basis, and I will never prejudge an issue or a litigant.
Thank you both. You'll now have the opportunity to give us a 1-minute closing statement. Candidate Hamilton, you may begin.
Thank you, and thanks again for the opportunity to share with the public today. It is important that we have judges that are fair and equitable. When in our People's Court, this is where the majority of our people will go, represented or unrepresented. And so it is important that we have someone that has served in that capacity, dealing with parties on both sides of the transactions without prejudging the case. When an attorney has spent most of their years litigating, they are one-sided. The last thing Broward County want is an attorney who is going to be one-sided and prejudge the case. I have served in the capacity where I've always been fair and equitable in the approach, and this is the same approach that I bring to the Broward County bench. So in August, when you vote Tamar Hamilton to be your next Broward County Court judge in Group 25. Thank you.
Candidate Friedman, your 1 minute closing statement, please.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, there are different types of lawyers, but please understand that just because someone is a lawyer, that does not mean that they have the qualifications to serve as a judge. Qualifications matter, experience matters. From my 12 years litigating all over the state of Florida, I've learned what works in a courtroom. I know that there are two or more sides to every story, and I have the right temperament. As voters, you have an important decision to make. People's property and critical issues affecting their lives are at stake. This is not the type of job where you wing it. And this is not the type of election where voters should just bubble in a box because they like one name better than the other. As a judge, I'll ensure the following. Number one, that the law is applied fairly and impartially. Two, I'll be prepared for the issues brought before me, and I will issue my orders timely. And three, I'll make sure everyone is heard, respected, and understood. I've been endorsed by several organizations who, after interviewing me, have determined that I have the qualifications it takes to become a judge. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. I very much am looking forward to serving you and the people of Broward County, and know that I'm here for you.
We want to thank you both to our candidates in Group 25, Corey Brian Friedman and Tamar Hamilton.
Thank you very much. So now I will remove these two candidates and bring in the last two. Okay, so now we're ready for Group 32. And just a reminder, each candidate will have a 1 minute opening statement, then they will respond to questions and then have a 1 minute closing. And Suzette, it's all yours.
Thank you, and welcome to our candidates in Group 32. You will now have 1 minute in which to give us a self-introduction statement, and we will start with candidate Benitez.
Good evening. My name's Emilio Benitez, but before I begin, I want to thank the League of Women's Voters, Ms. Hyde, Dr. Elliott, Vote 411 for inviting us here tonight. It's very important that the citizens of Broward have the knowledge before they make a choice. And that choice is clear. I've been a practicing attorney here in Broward County for 40 years. I've tried over 100 cases, anywhere from a misdemeanor case, landlord-tenant case, all the way to a murder case with the death penalty as a consequence. I've also have the honor of having been one of the founders of ChildNet, the largest child welfare agency in the state of Florida. I was one of the founders. I was the first board chair. And then I went on to be the president and CEO for 10 years, expanding that agency to also include Palm Beach County. Very proud of that. We had 6,000 children in the foster care system. And I'm very proud of my community involvement. And part of that is what I will bring to the Broward County bench. Thank you.
Candidate Peffer.
Well, good evening, Ms. Elliott, Ms. Hyde. Thank you to the League of Women Voters. And hello to Emilio. Nice to see you.
Hey,
So I'd like to just talk a little bit about, I suppose, my history. I'm a South Florida girl, born and raised in the Sunshine State. I've been in Broward County since about 2012. I graduated with my bachelor's degree from Palm Beach Atlantic University in organizational management. Then I got a master's degree in criminal justice from Boston University before finally getting my Juris Doctorate from Nova Southeastern in Davie in 2015. And I became a card-carrying member of the Florida Bar in 2016. I have worked for incredible firms, but super diverse. High volume collections firms, complex litigation construction. But what I'm most proud of is Elturner Law, which I've been working at since 2019, and particularly my work in animal law there. I'm a wife, I'm a mom, hopefully, well, not hopefully, very soon, a mom to two. And I look very much forward to being your next Broward County judge for Group 32.
Thank you both. We'll now ask you a series of questions which are just designed to help the Broward County voters get to know you a little bit better. You'll have 1 minute in which to complete each question. The first question, as a judge, what do you believe your main function will be, and how do you plan to communicate that to the public? Candidate Benitez.
I believe the main function of a judge is to be fair, impartial, and to listen to the parties that are appearing before you. I've had 40 years of experience of doing just that. Not only running the largest child welfare agency in the state, but also being a state commissioner for Hispanic Affairs, a commissioner for the Children's Services Council for 13 years in Broward County, been the chair of the Juvenile Justice Board in Broward County and the multi-agency task force which dealt with gang problems here in Broward. So I think the main focus is to make sure that you communicate, and you communicate fairly, and that you communicate with empathy. I think one of the problems we have in the judicial system is a lack of trust. And I think a judge should encourage that sense of trustworthiness in all the litigants and parties that appear before you.
Candidate Peffer, the same question.
So I think this question was actually really well answered. I did jury duty a couple weeks ago, and before you serve as a juror, they kind of give you this this instructional video, and they show you about the Constitution and the court system and give all the laymen sort of a general understanding. But something that the clerk of court said during that training was that the judges are like umpires. The people don't come to watch them, they come to see the game, but you wouldn't get a fair game without a good ump. And I think that's the role of judges in the courtroom. You got to call it right, and you got to call it fair.
The next question, how do you communicate to others that they have been heard and understood? Candidate Peffer.
So it's kind of a three-part question, right? You need to be mentally present, first of all, eye contact, no glazing over. And then you need to be listening, which is an active skill versus hearing, which is passive. And then finally, you need to clarify what it is that you heard. And those are the three basic steps that they teach you in school, elementary school, for being an active listener. So presence, listening actively, and clarifying to make sure that you properly understood what you were told.
Candidate Benitez, the same question.
I think two things are very important. You need to show respect for the people that appear before you. And following on what Lawrence said, you also have to listen and genuinely listen. Listen as if it were the most important thing that you were doing at that moment, because those are the things that the parties that appear before you expect and should expect. Having run an agency with 472 employees, I have that ability of listening to people, their issues, their problems, and trying to find solutions that will benefit their life and the entity of the judiciary.
The third question, how do you stay connected to your community? Candidate Benitez.
Wow. So in 40 years, that's a lot of connections. As I mentioned before, I was Commissioner for Hispanic Affairs appointed by Governor Bush. I was on the council, on the Children's Services Council for 13 years. I am currently serving on the board of directors of the Child Welfare League of America, which is the largest and oldest child welfare agency in the United States. So my community involvement is consistent over 40 years, whether it's in a professional manner or in a social services matter. And I think that are the life experiences that I'm able to bring to the bench.
Candidate Peffer, the same question.
Thank you for asking this question. I think that I'm most well known for, and Google my name and you'll see it everywhere, is my work with animals, particularly in Broward County. In 2017, I opened a nonprofit 501c3 rescue called Popo Pit Bulls. And it has, in that time, just exploded. I mean, it's flourished. It's opened some subdivisions, including Popo Petites and Popo To Go. Over the years, as my practice has gotten more busy and my animal advocacy work has gotten more busy, I've stepped down as treasurer, so I'm no longer the head of the board, but still very deeply involved and deeply committed to the what I would consider to be the most vulnerable members of Broward County, which are voiceless pets and animals. I'm also deeply involved in my alma mater, Nova Southeastern University. I've been involved with Judge Robert Diaz's street law program for the past several years, which just brings awareness to how the legal system works for school children.
Thank you. We'll now move on to what we call the lightning round. For the next set of questions, simply raise your hand if the answer is yes. Have you ever received training to help deal with behavioral and mental health issues of your clients, litigants, or defendants? Both candidates have raised their hands. Have you or are you in the process of being disciplined in one form or another by the Florida Bar? No hands are raised. We'll now continue on to our last two questions. In your opinion, what role does punishment play in our judicial system? Candidate Benitez?
Punishment plays a significant role, but punish can be made in different manners. Incarceration is certainly one of those. Probation is another. But I think part of the goal of a successful and fair judiciary is to allow the litigants or defendants, when you're talking about punishment, to be able to demonstrate to the court and to society that they have been rehabilitated. I think part of that is participating in community services as part of the punishment, so they can learn the impact that their service can make to their community.
Candidate Peffer, the same question.
So the Boston University Master's in Criminal Justice grad in me wants to pass the quiz and say, oh, punishment, it's deterrence, incapacitation, rehabilitation, retribution, and restitution. But as someone who interned at the public defender's office under Gordon Weeks, who's currently the sitting PD in Broward County, and having worked in the juvenile felony division during that internship, I think that the focus should be on the deterrence and the rehabilitation portion. I think that nobody is unredeemable and everybody deserves a second chance. And that punishment should fit the crime and not be a label that's applied based on a certain preset group of checklist standards without any respect for the individual facts of a case or circumstances.
We're now on to the final question. Have you ever made a regrettable decision? If so, tell us about it. Candidate Peffer, you may begin.
No regrets. Good or bad, life is a lesson. You learn it, you take your licks, and you move on, and it makes you a better person. You can't change yesterday. You can only change the present. And these are the things that help shape you into the person that you are. So no, what's the short answer?
Candidate Benitez, the same question.
Yes, my biggest regret is not giving my parents, when they were alive, a grandchild. I've made up for that because in the 40 years of practicing in community service, the focus has been on children. And running the largest child welfare agency in the state of Florida, I can say I had 6,000 children. In fact, today, one of those children who aged out of the foster care system and who I brought on to the board of directors of ChildNet to serve as the voice for the children, now is going to get her doctorate's degree. And I was very proud that she called me to write her a recommendation letter for her doctorate's degree in social services. So I think, although that was my biggest regret, I have many children still in my life that every day depend on me to guide them. And that is what I wish to bring to the court.
Thank you both. You'll now have the opportunity to give us a 1-minute closing statement. And Candidate Peffer, you may begin.
Well, thank you. I will say that I've really been having a good time in this judicial race. I appreciate having Emilio as an opponent. And I think that he and I are very blessed, really, that we are the only two parties in our race, because primary voters are very sophisticated voters. And we are going to be having our election in the primary on August 20th. These aren't folks that just blindly fill in bubbles. They really do their research and know about their candidate. And while Amelia and I are different, Broward County is going to do very well no matter what. So I'll just take this time to say that I appreciate very much my husband, who watched my 1-year-old during this interview so that I could be in here, and kept all 3 of our dogs in the other room. He's been excellent during this whole campaign, and he helps me keep things in perspective with a lot of humor and a lot of grace. And I appreciate so much everything that Broward County has blessed me with. It's my home. It's where I'm raising my babies. And I can't wait to have the opportunity to give back to Broward County like it's given to me.
I want to thank you to our group 32 candidates, Emilio M. And I'm sorry.
Emilio hasn't had a chance.
I am so sorry. Your closing statement, Mr. Benitez. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, did I talk too much?
No.
But first and foremost, I want to thank the League of Women Voters, Vote 411, Dr. Elliott, Ms. Hyde, for this opportunity. But I also want to follow on what Lauren had to say and thank her for having running a campaign that has been above board, professional, courteous, and I think I could have taken some notes from her right now because my cat has been clawing at me while we've been doing this interview. In closing, I think that I bring to the bench 4 decades of experience, 4 decades of community involvement that is very important. When litigants come to a court, they want to know that the judge that is listening to their case, which in the county court will probably be about their life, is listening and bringing life experiences to the table to make those decisions. That is what I'm bringing to the table, and this is what I hope to bring to the judiciary. Thank you very much.
Great. We want to thank you both, to our Group 32 candidates, Emilio Emmy Benitez and Lauren Nicole Peffer.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Yeah, you guys have had a long night. Good night.
So I want to thank the county court candidates for participating in this forum and to Suzette Hyde as our moderator. These judicial races are just as important as any other race that will be on the August 20th ballot. This forum was recorded and the video can be viewed on the League of Women Voters of Broward County's YouTube channel. So tell your friends, families, neighbors, colleagues, everyone that this is available for them to see. As mentioned previously, all the candidates have been asked to respond to written questions posed by the League. These written questions are different from the questions that you heard tonight. The candidates' responses will be available for viewing and comparison at vote411.org on July 12th. So again, be sure to tell your friends, family, neighbors, and colleagues that they still have a chance to learn about the candidates by viewing the video and checking the candidate responses on Vote 411. Just a reminder, it is not too late to request a vote by mail ballot. You can go to the Supervisor of Elections website, browardvotes.gov, or call 954-357-7055. All requests made for vote by mail ballots for the 2022 election are no longer valid. So if you've not made a new request since that time, do so now. So be an informed voter and vote in this election. Good night, and thank you.